Hey, 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 how you doing? How you doing? Welcome to the Tarot Flow Show. Welcome, everybody. We are so happy to have you here on the Tarot Flow Show. I am your host, Alison Pickering, and we are here to pull back the curtain on tarot and divination, to talk to some nice people, to have a few laughs, and to see what magic comes about today. If you're interested in this kind of thing, please do come on down to AlisonPickering.com. In August of 2024, we're going to be starting our academy, and we're going to be having classes and practice space and talk stuff and travel opportunities and meetups and all kinds of good stuff. So just jump on over to that landing page to get some information about that. That will be evolving as the summer comes into its own. Happy solstice, everybody. Today is the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, and somebody in the land of the midnight sun is here with us. And so our Scandinavian student, savant, friend, and enlightening person, because he gives us such insight into the Kabbalistic and psychological and spiritual implications of our beautiful cards. And that is my wonderful co-host, Kefri Skarabus. Welcome, Kefri.
Hi, Alison.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know that it is now 11 o'clock at night over there, but the sun is still shining. So that's really cool. And then, so we have Stockholm with Kefri, and then coming to us live from Mexico City, a rock star in his own right, the bass player, the fabulous, dangerous rhythmatist from Ritmo Peligroso de Mexico. But I went to high school with him here in Hollywood, so it's another Hollywood High reunion. This is Avi Michel. Avi Michel, welcome. Welcome to Avi Michel. Yay!
Hey guys.
How you doing, Avi?
Hey, Alison. Nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you guys. Saludos all the way from Mexico City.
Thank you so much. Saludos de Mexico. The last time I saw Avi was down in San Miguel de Allende, and that must have been in, like, I don't know, 2000 something. I can't remember when. We'll have to.
Around 2008, 2009, maybe.
In San Miguel de Allende. Beautiful, beautiful. And you were a very gracious host, and I appreciated that.
Well, it was great to see you.
Yeah, and it's nice to have you here. Avi does not know what he's getting into, this crazy man. Look what he is subjecting himself to. Let's check it out here. No idea. So this is the flow. We're having a chance to say hi to Avi. Then we're going to take a quickie little image tour, and we're going to see some of the major arcana, and then we're going to pick a focus card. Avi, as we're looking at those, maybe one of them is going to jump out at you, and you let us know which one you want us to unpack, which means we're going to look at all the symbols on the card, have a few connections, and then we're going to jump into a 7-card reading, and I'll show us how that works. When I read, I'm going to read in a way that everybody can kind of see what I'm doing, so that we're trying to demystify the process of how is it that we access our intuition using these images. How might that translate into the day-to-day life? I do the day-to-day kind of interpretations, then and some psychological stuff. And then Kefri's going to pick up on that psychological stuff and then take it up even further with the psychological and the spiritual. So we're actually emulating a kind of Kabbalistic tree of life experience, if you will. And so but it's very light and it's very image driven, and we do it with a lot of laughs. And so here we go. So this Fool guy, he is the main character in the tarot. He is the one traveling through the experiences in whatever is his latest manifestation. And you can see he's ready to jump. He's willing. He's got all of his experiences on his shoulder, his purity of heart in his hand, his little animal companion, and they are ready to go and see what this new experience is going to bring. And then in here, and let me blow this up as much as I can right now. What we have here, it's like 3 rows, and let's just oversimplify for the purposes of introduction here and just say that the top row is like being at home and learning the lessons of your youth. You've got your internal masculine, feminine polarities. You may have an external mother and father. You might have a teacher with that Hierophant figure. You might have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever in the lover's figure when you start to deal with other people and choices. And then maybe you start getting out of town in your chariot or having some kind of mobility. In the second row, we have the idea of dealing with your passions, with your loneliness, the hermit, with luck and fortune around the world, just because we bump into other people's lives. What about law? Universal law, national law, municipal law. What do we think about all that? Sometimes we are opposite, like the Hanged Man. Sometimes we run counter to the mainstream. Sometimes the mainstream just runs over us like death. We can't really resist some of the changes that come. We just have to adapt. And then the Temperance card is our learning to adapt with kind of mixing our own cocktail and figuring out our own pathway. And then on the bottom are all these kinds of lessons and consciousness. So you could be super materialistic and hung up on the contracts and only what's concrete, and it's only about the money. And that would be kind of you would be kind of subjugated to the Capricorn devil at that point, the hardworking material reality. But at a certain point, something comes in to let you know that that's not the only reality. It knocks you out of that kind of ivory tower. And then you have your own authenticity, your own little naked self there in the star. Well, who are you? And then you start to figure that out through your emotional aspect with the moon, with your, different aspects of yourself kind of howling. And then there is a liberation with that little child on the horse with that sun card. And then we have a new drummer to march to with that judgment card. And then an ending, a new beginning, a new portal, a new victory, blah, 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 with that world card. And then you kind of come around again. So those are the major arcana between this Fool figure, who's the 0, and these 21 that are the rest of the majors. Avi, are there any of these that particularly intrigued you that we could take a closer look at and take a look at the symbols that are, because these cards are chock full of crazy symbols.
Okay, well, the one that grabbed me first off here is Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune. I sound like a game show host. Wheel
I don't know.
Fortune. Well, we're going to do that. And then Kefri's going to put it up on his interface here. So I'm going to go ahead and trade that out. And here we go with the Wheel of Fortune. And he's going to put it up in that big position for us to take a look at all these symbols. And so this one, well, you picked a full one. I'll tell you that. So
is it? Okay.
Oh, yeah. So let's look at the corners. In the corners, we have all of these animals. These animals all have books. They're all in the process of learning. There's lessons in this card. And then all of these are on the left top. You've got this angel. That's Aquarius, one of the fixed signs. At the right is the eagle. That's the elevated aspect of Scorpio. On the bottom right is Taurus the bull. On the bottom right is Leo the lion. And the bottom left is Taurus the bull. So those are your 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. It's also the 4 animals or the angels of Ezekiel's vision in the Bible, for example. There's all kinds of things. Sometimes yesterday, we had an interpretation where someone picked up on the clouds and was talking about that you can't really tell what's going on right now. It's a little cloudy. And so different aspects of this card can be in there. And we're not even looking at the wheel in the middle yet, right? The wheel in the middle has these alchemical symbols kind of crisscrossing it. It's got taro or rota, which means like rodar, like a rolling. And it's got the Hebrew letters for the 4 letters of the name of God, the Yod, He, Vav, He. Kefri, what other things are inherent in this card that you take into account when you look at it?
The 3 elements are also in there with the Sphinx and the Anubis and the snake, actually. And there is a wheel, but there could also be a drop of water that is falling on the surface of water that makes the rings. Actually, we can also see it that way. And we also have some alchemical symbols in the middle of the wheel also.
Thank you very much. And those 4, the symbols that you mentioned, the Sphinx and the Anubis and the snake, they're all around the wheel. And that kind of references Egyptian mythology, right? And Egyptian lessons and things like that. So we've got all that kind of, so we got the astrological and the biblical and the Egyptian and the Hebrew and the Latin and the alchemical, you get the idea. So that's what's in every one of these cards. Actually, it's quite the magical deck. This is the Rider-Waite-Smith's deck. It's kind of the Mac Daddy that many, many tarot decks clone or emulate. What, Avi, as you look at this and all the blah, blah, blah that we've been talking about, those are a lot of words, but the images are powerful. What do you see in there, and what is evocative to you?
Well, I'm not sure what that like little red fox devil is on the bottom there. That's kind of catching my eye there. And the snake, I'm thinking that There must be something dark going on there. But as far as the rest of it goes, it seems to be, pretty much kind of a hopeful dream sequence kind of thing. That's the way I look at it.
We could not have said it better, by the way. You are a dream guest already, Avi, because you are already picking up on these essential elements. And the key word in this, when the wheel comes up, it's always like, okay, great. It looks like things are taking a turn for the better, that kind of thing. Kefri, did you want to look at the Anubis, who's that fox figure, and the Sphinx and the snake, and see what that meaning might be from the Egyptian viewpoint?
It's the three elements, actually, that are in there, because the Sphinx is the water, and the Anubis is the fire, and the snake is the air. But there is a fourth element that is missing, of course, and that is earth. And that fourth element is ourself, because we are in the wheel also, actually. So that's also there. And the Sphinx is mystical because the Sphinx in itself also incorporates the four elements. But we will not go into this. But it is like it's like a fractal. It's like a hologram that is opening up more and more when you look at it, and it contains all the pieces, so to speak. So.
Thank you. And that's what these cards are like. The more you dig into them, the more there is to find. And then you find some more, and there's more behind that. And it's very multiplicative. It's very fractal. It's a pattern. It's a pattern that plays out in our lives and in our psychology and in our spirituality and all that good stuff. So thank you. That's our focus card. And may the Wheel of Fortune bless you and give you hope and all that kind of stuff. Let's take a look at some of the other cards that we have. So we looked at our majors. There are 22 majors in the deck, and we saw those, and we saw our wheel. And then the other part of the deck is 56 cards, 14 each in these four suits. And so we've got the ace and the knight here vertically of each suit. So we've got the fire suit, passions, and all kinds of fiery ideas. We don't know where they come from. Ideas come from, we don't know. Right? It just comes from some magical, intuitive place. That's the wands. Then there's emotion. How much do you care about that? If you're going to take this idea into reality, you got to care about it. So that's the cups. That's the investment of emotional energy. And then we see that the watery signs down in our night below. And then you've got the air sign of the swords, which is very clinical, which is very strategic, which is a little bit cold about the thoughts. And then you can see our knight. He's like going to war over the thoughts, because ideas, we go to war over ideas more than anything else. And then we're down to the earth plane now. And the earth plane has the 5-pointed star because we deal with the earth plane using our 5 senses. And so we've got our touch and our smell and our hearing and our taste and our
smell.
Thank you. All the 5 and all those 5 senses. And that's what's represented with it. Yeah. And then you can see that another aspect of that 5 senses and that pentacle sign is that pentagram on the pentacle. We have to deal with when we're in our physical bodies, we have to do everything in time, and it's slow. So we could think about all kinds of stuff and it's instantaneous, but if we want to put it into action, it takes time, and so that is why this horse is kind of slow and we can't really necessarily see it, but he's looking over a plowed field. And the idea is that it takes time for something to get planted, to get roots, to sprout, to become its full self, to fruit, and to all that. And so it takes a while to go from planting to harvest, and you have to guard it, and you have to kind of be trustworthy through that process if you're going to see it come to fruition, so to speak. As we look at the wands here, we can see, and I'll blow this up just a bit, the wands 1 through 10, 1 through 5, 6 through 10. On the bottom there, you can see different, let's say, progressions of an idea as it goes from just the seed idea into implementation. Imagine if we had to actually do all of our ideas, how heavy that would be. And then you see the page and the knight and the queen and the king and all the fiery signs with salamanders and flames and pyramids and deserts and all that kind of hot stuff in this card. And then we've got the cups, which is cooler, emotional. This might be progressions of a relationship. If all our feelings were fulfilled, then that would be very fulfilling, like we see on that 10 rainbow card. Lots of watery symbols in the court cards. Here's our swords. This is where things get pretty surgical and pretty rational, not very imbued with a lot of heart here. And that heart is even getting pierced with the thoughts. So once you make a decision, you kind of have to forego the last other, what might have been. All these things are progressions of ideas, or and then down with that 10, imagine if all the ideas we had came to pass, because we can be really horrible to ourselves and to others in our own head. And if that stuff came to pass, yikes. And you can see all the air signs in these court cards. And then finally, it warms up a bit in the earth, our slow sign here, progressions of a job, a contract, a business, families, and all those earthy symbols there that we see in the court cards. So that's what is our kind of vocabulary of images. And then we're going to get into this reading. And so as we look at this reading and take a look at what these meanings will be, what we're going to do is we're going to pull some cards, and I've got my cards. Hold on, I've got my cards down here. So I'll pull the 6 cards, and then Kefri also has his cards in Stockholm. He's going to pull that 7th card for perspective. And we have at the top middle the idea of, what are we looking at? What is the topic? You know, what are we being shown? And you can focus us or not, Avi, you know, depending on how you want to handle this. We could just see what they say. And that used to be this. It seems to be the trend on the show. On the bottom, we get a timeline. It's a timeline. It could be literally what happened a little while ago, what's happening now, and then what's happening in the future. Or we could be getting a picture of something that was important in your life. And then we're just seeing a little storyline. What happened first, and then what happened, and then what happened, and then some perspective in that big card. We'll get that. And then up in the top, we have also some advice. You might default to do this thing on the left, but it might be good to not do that for your greatest growth, but rather to do what's indicated on the thing on the right. And then we'll get whatever that umbrella perspective thing is from that big card. So questions, comments, what might you be thinking about as we go this way?
I just wanted to ask, do I get to pick another card at all, or no? That's,
if you would like, that would be fine. Absolutely.
No, but is that part of the?
Basically, what I'm going to do right now, Avi, is I'm going to shuffle up down here, and I'm going to spread these out. And then I'm going to pick like this one, and wherever my eyes fall. If you want me to, like, I could take a picture of this. If you want to like count it out and tell me that one, I can do that. That just becomes a really long show. No.
I'm good.
If you were sitting here with me, that's what you'd be doing. You'd be picking the cards. You might shuffle them, you know.
Go ahead,
just so
go ahead and do your thing then. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go for it.
Cool. All right. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to go ahead and shuffle up right now. And if you like, you can tell me when to stop.
Well, shuffle it a couple times, I guess.
Shuffle a couple of times.
There you go.
I'm going to bring this camera up a little bit so I can see the table a little better.
We need a little background music right now.
I know, but okay. You were doing the Batman music.
That was great. That was like perfect.
This is very lovely StreamYard.
I was just joking.
Tell me when.
Oh, one more time there. That's it. Okay. Sorry, I forgot.
Oh, the fade wasn't working. Okay, sorry about that. All of us being kind of sound aware, like, oh, that was horrible. All right, here we go.
Well, you do that really good. Okay.
The table's not too bad, and these cards have a little age on them, so they're appropriately slightly tacky. And the reason I do this, everybody, is just so we can, so I can see them all, because the back design's a little busy on these, and so I can distinguish them one from the other, and that gives me a little tactile thing. All right, so we're going to go to the reading now. So just if you want to take a screenshot or just ask me when we want to bring this slide back in terms of our meanings that we're going for. I'm going to right now pick our issue. Then I'm going to go to the timeline on the bottom, and our 2 advice cards. And then after we talk about those for a while, then Kefri's going to pick that perspective card. All right, so here we go. So, all right, what do we, Avi, did you want to tell us a topic, or are we just jumping in? Maybe you want to focus this for us. I didn't ask, sorry.
A topic, like the meaning of life or something like that. Or?
Yeah. Well, that's what we're gonna get. So okay, we'll just let them say what they're gonna say.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, meaning of life. We're going for a profound reading for Avi. Profound reading for Avi. What are we going to talk about?
Why are we here?
Why are we here? Well, I guess we got to learn some lessons. So there's our topic card. Is the 7 of Wands.
7 of Wands, yeah.
And then if you wouldn't mind putting that in that big position too, so we can take a look at that as the rest pop up. So the idea of kind of staying on top of things, there's always something. It's kind of the meaning of life is kind of always learning new little lessons and having new little surprises and having to adapt, if we're taking this as the meaning of life. But this may be a little bit more focused than that, but that's our significator. And then now let's look at our timeline. So let's look at past. Another 7 of Swords.
That's wild because I'm born on July 7th.
Oh, and 7/7. Check it out. All right, 7/7. So you got a birthday coming up. Happy birthday! And you're a Cancer.
Yeah, I'm going to be 65. I actually feel 64 and 48 weeks.
Well, I'm there. I'm right behind you. I'm 63 and about 44 weeks, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. So let's see. Okay. So first we got the 7 as a topic. Now we have that 7 of Swords in the past. And what now? What's going on after that 7 of Swords? Then what? Then we have the King of Wands. And then after that, coming up, the Page of Cups. And then advice, avoid. Maybe better to not do this thing, which is the Page of Pentacles. So look, it seems to me like you have new projects on the brain right now.
Almost always.
Yeah. And that's probably a function of that 7.
Both of the game. You got to be ahead of the game.
And then in terms of advice, supportive advice, what's going to be supportive to Avi? And that's going to be the Queen of Cups. So interesting. Lots of people in this, obviously, but a lot of court cards. But no majors, which is interesting. So kind of what this tells me a bit, Avi, is that we're looking kind of at the day-to-day. We're looking at the work life. We're looking at kind of what you're doing on the day-to-day versus, let's say, a soul journey path kind of deeper reading, which we might get into at some other point, or that might be something that comes up with this larger card, that all of these little things are giving you a bigger thing. But right now we're kind of looking at some somewhat transitory and developmental, I would describe this reading. So let's put up that King of Wands, please, in the present time. So this is kind of what's at the middle of what we're looking at. And the idea in this card being someone who is always moving from success to success and moving from always having learned something to having learned something. There's an inherent optimism in this king that keeps him going. And it doesn't matter if it was like a success or a failure or whatever. It's always about next, what's next, what's next, And so that fieriness and that mastery of the ideas, the idea to the ability to pull in ideas is very parallel to that 7 above. Let's go ahead and look at that 7 of Wands above the king. So that quality of being in a high place, being able to foresee things, being able to predict a trend, being able to answer a question, being able to think, well, why not this other thing? What about that? There's a creativity to you, which has really been helpful because, and I'm just speculating that it can't be the easiest to be a musician, a rock musician. A musician's life is never easy, and you always have to figure out how you're gonna do what you're gonna do next, and how to keep it fresh, and things like that. And so it looks like you're quite the master at that. Let's look at the past in that Seven of Swords. In the past, in order to achieve these ideas, sometimes by the time they get down into the planning stages, you can't do everything you wanted to do. And so it looks like recently or in the past, what we're looking at is a trajectory of in something that was important to you. And maybe it's something that you just got over, or this is like your last project. Maybe it's the project you're in right now, but it's something that's fairly recent. You had to do something to make sure that it came off. You had to, I don't know if it was cut somebody loose. There was some sketchiness happening in terms of ethics. Somebody tried to screw you on something. So you had to like really make sure you got paid, and they maybe didn't pay you everything, but you got most of it. So you had to just live with it. Those kinds of things are the kinds of things that are depicted in that Seven of Swords. The idea that sometimes this is you go take the other people's stuff because it will keep them from killing each other. And it's just a peacemaking measure that is stealthy but necessary. So it's a bit of a spy move. It's a bit of a, could be a criminal move, but not necessarily. Sometimes it's a peacemaking move. It really depends on what's motivating it. So I don't know if there's sketchiness in the ethics in this at all, but there looked to be some kind of compromise that you had to like deal with and say, okay, we're going to deal with that, and we'll just move on. And then now what's next? Well, what's interesting is that what's coming up next is going to be surprising. And that's that Page of Cups. And let's notice some of the color differences just between the stuff on the left, which is very golden, and the stuff on the right, which is starting to get more pinky. Okay, so this Page of Cups now is going to be new, and it's going to be revitalizing. It's going to be healthy. It's going to have some femininity to it. Maybe you're bringing in a girl singer. Maybe there's some kind of feminine collaboration. Maybe this has to do with your being in more of a parental role now, and all the surprises that come from the emotional involvement of raising a child and things like that, because you had mentioned that. So I don't want to bring bias into this, but I'm just trying to think of how these things play, what this might represent in real life.
Okay.
All those lotus flowers, it's like, it seemed like it was going to be such a murky, drecky thing, and yet it's beautiful. And yet what's coming out of this cup that you're holding, that you didn't expect to hold, is so surprising and spiritual. This little fishy is delighting you. It's jumping out of the cup. And so you have, and all this pink is really... maybe you've been painting a room pink. Maybe you've been pink has been oversaturating your life because of this little girl, but that's a beautiful thing for you, because you've been very, very black all these years in terms of the persona. And so this brings some life into that more goth kind of persona, and that's a beautiful thing too. And so what the encouragement is for you looking up at that queen is to keep going on this trend. The one that's missing in between the queen and the king, between the page and the queen, by the way, is the knight. And he's the one who's kind of carrying that cup. It looks kind of like a proposal. We don't see that card up here. Kefri could probably put it up, but I'm just kind of imagining. I could imagine the progression from the page goes to the knight, goes to the queen. This is kind of like the implied in-between card between what's coming up in your future and what the recommendation is. So that's kind of the bridge, is that knight card. So the idea that you're feeling purpose. Thank you, Kefri. And we can go ahead and put up that queen now. The idea that you would be now, you'll notice that knight was wearing fish. So now you're seeing the fish, and the knight is wearing the fish. And now this queen has now incorporated. She's now the queen of all of it. She's also wearing the fish and the water on her cape, and she's contemplating this beautiful cup. And so I believe the recommendation for right now is to really concentrate your attention into the emotional quality of your life, and to really seeing the value of this emotional aspect of your life being built out and developed where maybe it hadn't gotten built out and developed before. And that, as an endeavor, will be perhaps more important than the page on the left. And let's look at that page, Kefri, on the left, that page of Pentacles on the left. So you've got the Page of Cups in your future, and the Page of Pentacles is recommending against. So this is kind of saying, stay in that emotional space. Don't try and jump immediately into business and money and a new thing and a new thing and a new thing right now. Maybe right now, the most important thing for you to do is to create the emotional space of that's representing that queen and that contemplative space. So maybe if you're writing, maybe you're not writing to make a hit or to get the fans, but you're writing to express what's in your heart and your growing emotional realizations. If you're in your day-to-day life, then rather than spending 24/7 trying to generate business, spend some time with the girls and generate some connection, that kind of thing. And that, I believe, will then give you a nice balance in your life and offer you a more interesting harvest. So if this Page of Pentacles is planting a seed, you've planted that seed 80 million times. This is a new seed you're planting with this page. And this page is planting in water. It's much more fluid. It's emotional. It might be a little like up and down and oh yeah, these bees. But you can handle that because you're a man and they need your stability. And you're a little bit changeable yourself as a Cancer. So you understand that wateriness very well. And so you can all go through that together and support each other and all that good stuff. And you don't have to be as much of a provider as a supporter. And there's a difference. The money is one thing, but the rock is in the heart in terms of your who you are.
You're kind of getting really close, Alison.
Okay, well, that's good. And that's where I'm going to stop talking now. And then I'm going to hand off to Kefri because he's going to pick up on this. And then, Avi, you're welcome to talk at any given point, but we kind of just take turns for a minute and then let you process it a bit. And then we'll jump in with that big overview card afterwards to get a little more sauce, as it were. So I'm going to hand off and go off camera right now. Thank you, Kefri. Thank you, Avi.
Thank you, Alison. I am looking at the cards and I'm looking a bit deeper and I see a process here that I think that you are doing in life, so to speak, and also your creative process. And I see this wand of the Seven of Wands here. I see this wand as the wand that the king is holding, actually, because this card to me indicates that there has been a lot of ideas how you want to do things and things you could do, but you have been sticking to one of them and you have developed that ability, actually, and that has been a part of you and is a part of you, actually, and that is the wand of the King of Wands. And if we look at this card, the king is holding that wand outside of the small fundament he is sitting on, and that could be read like you are giving what you are emanating inside of you freely out, actually, and then out to the world, actually. And we also have this small salamander here that is quite mystical, and that is a sort of a fiery energy that isn't yours. It comes from somewhere that enlightens you in the process, actually. And also this king has a lion head around his neck here, and that is the sun and that is the light, actually. And I think in your creative process, your sun is showing, so to speak, to the world. And there are two cards here that is actually placed on a stage if you are looking at them. It's the Seven of Swords and it is the Page of Cups. It's basically standing on a stage, actually. And I think they are indicating your process when you are standing on the stage, actually. And the Seven of Swords could be somebody that takes something away, but I think that this is more of somebody always takes something away from you. And you have learned to accept that, because you know that even if it isn't good when it is happening, it's like your creativity gives something to somebody else, even if they from the beginning stole it from you. But later on, you are getting rewarded on it on some way. And that is a part of your life process, your creative process, I would say. And also the Page of Pentacles, as we have been saying, has a lot to do with resources and money and so on. And that is not what is happening. You are not in this for the money. Even if you started that way, you have realized that that is not the point of it, that you don't sow seeds to become rich. Actually, it's more of a process. It's more of a giving of something that isn't of a material resource. Actually, it's more of what you have inside of you, what you came here with, so to speak. It's a part of your life mission, so to speak. And the Page of Cups is a bit like when you are doing this and give to the world, something is happening, and something is going to happen even more in the future, actually, because you can isolate yourself from feelings that are of a dark nature or are of a disturbing nature, because you can, so to speak, give that to the world, actually, to present it in a process to the world. You don't have to keep it inside of you. And that is a part of your art also, and that will also be more in the future, I believe, because this is a circle that is going around, and it goes faster and faster. And it is also connected to the Queen here, because this is a very introspective energy. And the more you look into things deeply and keep them outside of yourself, the more you can present to the world to learn it, to cope with their own processes or their own setbacks and so on. But you don't have to take part of it yourself. You are like a catalysator in this process, actually. And there is a secret in this card, because if you turn it around, those two angels that is guarding this chalice here will, if they come together, they will create a heart symbol, actually. And this is about the heart. It's about the soul energies and so on. And Alison has already said that the thing that you also has a child now is indicated here, actually, because you can see the child here in the chair here, like a little cherubim that also holds a fish. So this child is also a sort of a conductor of the emotions, actually balancing them. And that is the process you are in for the moment, actually. And I think it's a good process. I think it's a very good process. And Alison, if you don't mind, I think you should draw the 7th card this time, if you are there. And I think it's the top card that we have been looking at all the time, that is on your table, that you draw out. That
this one here?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
one? Okay.
Yeah.
Queen of Swords.
Yeah. So we will put that one up. And that is about discipline, actually. To sort and order this energy, to make something out of it, actually, to present it not just freely, but present it in a sort of a package for the world, that there is a sort of there is something they can get out of it, so to speak, I would say. But you would say something also, Alison, I think. Thank you.
I was getting the impression that maybe you need to do some solo stuff, that maybe you're writing some kind of more heartfelt solo stuff that you would maybe play, or just, but it's not rock. Or if it is, it's more ballady and it's more heartfelt. And I have the feeling that there's another aspect of your musicianship that hasn't been expressed as much with the band, but that's been your bread and butter. And I think that there's something about the idea of going off or taking your own direction in this, and solidifying the emotional stuff that we're seeing in that Queen and Page into the written word, into the communication format, because the swords are all about communication and words. And it's also about email and about, cutting through and things like that. And you can see that she's in profile here. So this idea that this is a half of you that perhaps we haven't seen yet. Maybe this is showing the other side of you that we haven't seen, since you've been the bass player, who never gets a solo, right? Who never gets to shine, almost never gets a solo, maybe, and you've probably co-written a bunch of tunes, and you may or may not have gotten credit, et cetera, et cetera. So that may be some of the sevens that we're seeing. And then the seven is also this idea. We see the seven, and then you've got the 7/7 in your birthday. It seems to be a thematic kind of element here, is this idea of give and take, learning, give and take. It's an uneven, it's an odd number, so there's a certain push-pull in the energy of the number. And it's related to the chariot, about movement as well. And so you've always been on the move, and I get the feeling that this is kind of about slowing down and expressing your more heartfelt things rather than the things, which you've done for years and years, and you're very, very good at, and you have a whole giant work to point to. But this is a whole other side of you that maybe nobody has seen, and it's going to be another persona, and perhaps a solo thing, or maybe they're going to back you for once, you know?
Yeah, and there is also, she also wears a cloudy mantle here, and I think it's higher energies. Actually, I think it's a poem or poesy or something. Also, it's more of a human attitude and world.
If I said Dan Fogelberg to you, would you cringe? If I said Dan Fogelberg to you, would you cringe?
As an artist? No, I love Dan Fogelberg.
Okay, it's a weird thing to pull out of somewhere, but it's just there's a nature to his stuff which is so sweet, you know, and it's so counter, let's say, to Ritmo Peligroso, but that might be. So with all the pinks and blues and things like that, there's this whole tender side of you that nobody knows, and I think that deserves to be seen, certainly before time runs out, and while you still have audience, and while you still have people who are interested in the other aspects of you, because you have been the constant, but not necessarily the star. It's been Cesar, right? What little bit I've been tracking of you guys' of your work, but the lead singer is more the lead guy, and you're always there. But what is your art? Who are you, Avi? You've always been the rock for them as well.
True story.
Yeah. So this is the tarot flow, and anything that you feel like wanting to say or whatever, or you don't have to say it, and we don't even have to put this up online. So it's all up to you, Avi.
No. I'm totally open to this. You can just put it up. You don't even have to edit it. I just got a quick question. A couple of observations. It's kind of wild. I kind of see, like, in 3 of the cards, like my little girl is present. You know, the pink in the Queen of Cups, the little kid under the chair, they're kind of holding him up. You know, like another way of supporting.
And on top, on either shoulder of that throne as well. Put up that Queen of Cups, Magnus, just so we can see there's 3. See the little cherubs on the top too.
Oh,
so lots of them.
And then put it back to where because the last card also, the 7th card, the swords, I think.
The Queen of Swords. There it is.
There it is, Queen of Swords. There's a kid in the chair there also.
And butterflies.
And so that kind of like, and then you guys were making some references, both of you did, you know, like, because that's really changed my life so much. I mean, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, is to be a father. because I never had my own kids. So, just that you guys would like pick up on that aspect, that for the last 6 years, I've been a father, and she's going to be
6
13.
years. Congratulations.
And she's going to be 13 this year.
Mm.
And, she kicks my ass really, but.
And it's so interesting because all these butterflies here is her transformation as well. Because this is right in the middle of her transformation from girl to woman. You can see all the butterflies. There's a million butterflies on both of the queen and the page here. And so that's a wonderful symbol also for your transformation, for her transformation, for the ability of your life to take a whole other kind of turn and be lighter and lovelier than it was before. So hats off to you. And you provide something important to them, which is an emotional solidity, which really outweighs the material thing, just by the way.
Yeah.
Well,
Because that's sometimes it goes. The emotional rock is the important thing.
I don't think they're with me for my money, so I never have that much. But yeah, it's definitely changed my life, and kind of there's moments when I may not express it because I'm really bad at at expressing my my love or my affection, in a sort of a physical and out loud way, but sometimes I'm like sitting back and I see the kid and she's there, and sometimes I think I get along better with the kid than I do with mom, but the kid, and sometimes the kid she's at that stage also right now where she's becoming a rebel, without a cause, and I got to be real patient and stuff. But sometimes I get this overwhelming feeling of peace,
Nice.
and I see her almost I don't want to. I'm not crazy or anything, but I kind of feel like she's got this aura, almost that I can almost
No, you're not crazy.
perceive in a way, And even if she's the way she is, and she listens to other kind of music, and she doesn't know who the Eagles are, or because she's got her own set of people and artists, and some of them I can get into a little bit, and others I just can't even understand why. I guess it's part of my
because you don't like them.
But I like all kinds of music. I produce a lot of music, so one of the aspects of my where I work and I exist is I have to be, I have to have a very wide criteria and open. I have to listen to music that maybe is not my favorite, but I need to be aware of certain things, and it's kind of so I never say that I don't like anything. I never hate anything. It may not be my cup of tea, but anyway.
No, I think it's helpful to purge that word from one's use.
I don't like hating anything, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that maybe in some way, I'm not that maybe I could be a good example for her someday, although she doesn't, connect with, and she's got a studio.
No, you won't get any respect for 10 years.
Yes. And then I'm trying to remember, was I really that bad too? Maybe I was. I guess I was.
The blessings of a bad memory, right? You can't remember.
That's why I love to smoke pot, because it helps me forget everything,
Oh, there you go. It's the PTSD relief, right?
So it's the best medicine.
Well, I wouldn't argue, So in terms of the tarot flow, this is what we've been doing. So this is a reading, and I hope it's been useful for you. And Kefri, do you have any things that you want to add as we take a look at this at the end here? There's a lot to potentially check out.
We have looked at everything, but we can also see in the chair here of the Queen of Swords, there are also 2 moons, actually.
Mm.
And there is a lot of moony energy in this, I think, about the unknown, and also letting things be, and looking behind the clouds and find perhaps an answer and an inspiration and so on.
And then moon is your ruling planet as a Cancer. That's your ruling planet. And so you may feel yourself like it's a full moon now. Maybe you really feel like there's a lot going on, and there might be a changeability with the moon that you just feel because it's your ruling sun, it's your ruling planet, or your ruling body, and it's very connected to you, and you're an intuitive guy, and so those things you may not. All of us have expressed today the idea that, oh, I'm not woo-woo. It's kind of like, oh, because it's so disrespected. But the reality is you want to incorporate those things in your life because that's your anchor to your source. And that's your anchor to all your ideas and creativity. And all that stuff is who you are at the deeper levels. And so you want to anchor to that stuff. You want to connect to that stuff. And I think that working in this emotional realm and working also with trying to bring that stuff into words so that beautiful overwhelm that you feel when you gaze at your daughter, is that something that has a melody, or is that something that has a hook to it? Or is that something that you would sing? Something like that might be something that would be a cool thing for you to explore in terms of your own artistic expression. And you have the ability to produce it and do all those things. And so there's lots of possibility there to also let people know how you're feeling without having to, buy the greeting card or say it to their face,
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's the way a lot of musicians are. We don't always, we're not always singers, and crazy guitar players, So we have other ways to express or transmit, emotions and stuff in a way. It's and I guess I do fit in that sort of line. Because like you said, and you picked up on that also, I've been behind a lot of great singers and guitar players, and really I am that, that anchor for them in so many ways. And I'm there, like.
Oh man, if you're off, the whole thing goes.
I'm always there, man.
Right.
And I always end up like, like in the middle of whatever. If there's problems, it's not because of me, but I always end up in the middle of them, because. One guy wants to talk to the other guy, and so I'm the one that sort of gets them together.
Oh my gosh, yeah, okay. Well, so that's interesting because that 7 has kind of been the go-between as well. So he's like a bit of the messenger, that 7 of Swords guy who's taking those 5 swords away. He's kind of the one who goes, okay, so-and-so said such and such. What do you think? All right, well, okay, well, you come back with just the good part of the message. Well, he said he might be interested in doing that. Yeah.
Well, and on all different kinds of levels also,
Yeah.
I mean, not just musically, but, socially, and because also being a producer, you guys know, if you've ever had to deal with a lot of people or work with other people and stuff, it's like I got to be a producer, a teacher, a father, an uncle, a
psychologist,
a mentor, and it's a big responsibility, but you guys really picked up.
This Queen of Swords is telling me to use those skills on your own behalf.
Maybe that's what I never really did, but that's
you're
okay.
A very giving person. You're a very giving person. You're a caretaker. And so now you need to take care of yourself.
I can handle it.
Yeah. A pleasure having you here. I can't wait till we have a chance to see each other face to face at some reunion of some sort. We'll go to Mexico. You come up here to your hometown. Come on down.
It may be sooner than you think.
Good. I look forward to it.
I'll let you know. All
right. Cheers. Well, I thank you very much, Avi Michel. I knew you as Avi Jamgotchian. And so and Avi in 5th grade, 6th grade was wearing a white tie, a white shirt and a dark tie. And you are not quite the liberated man that I see you as now. So there's your rebellion right there.
Well, I think I didn't come out that bad. I never really.
No, not at all. And the big heart is the thing,
I never ended up in jail or anything like that. So I'm good,
You're good. All right. And you're a good dad. And that's a really important role. And you're a wonderful musician. And you are a rock for a whole lot of folks. So thank you for being our guest today here, Avi Michel. Thank you, Kefri Scarabus, for being here to give us our insight and spiritual anchor. And I'm Alison Pickering. Thanks, everybody, for joining us here on the Tarot Flow Show. We will see you soon and hope to enjoy your company in the future. So thanks very much. And we'll see you soon.
Big hugs.